Good morning, guys, and again I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Again, this is your Prof Zeus, and for this morning, again we will be uh, continuing our discussion about basic accounting. So during our last session, nakagawa na tayo ng financial statements, no? So based on the information I have provided to you, na we went through the accounting process, okay, the accounting cycle, until dito sa preparation ng financial statements. So at year end, the accountants will have to prepare the financial statements of the company, no? Now, ano bang susunod after preparing the financial statements? So after preparing the financial statements at the end of the year, we have to close the books, okay? So in closing the books, ano ba yung purpose doon? We have to bring all the income statement accounts or all the nominal accounts, okay, to zero. Why? Because remember, these are only temporary accounts, okay? Now, anong gagawin natin? So we have to bring the revenues and the expenses to zero. Okay, we have to bring the balances of the revenues and expenses to zero, and then transfer it to, or use another temporary account called income, or as other books would call it, income and expense summary. And then the balance of the income and expense summary will be transferred to the capital of the owner. Why? Because remember, in a sole proprietorship, no, all profits and losses will be for the account of the owner. Okay? So, how do we close? Say for example, revenue, no? Revenue has a normal credit balance. So, for you to be able to close it, you have to, okay, debit the revenue. Now, for the expenses, since these are the expenses have normal debit balance, so for us to be able to close it, we have to credit the expense. Okay? So, let's do the closing process. Dito na natin ilagay, no? Para at least kita natin yung ating kino-close. So, closing entries. Okay. So, assuming this is December 31, and then we have the debit. Ito na lang. And then we have the credit. Okay? So, let us close the revenue. Okay? So, revenue has a normal credit balance. So, we will debit the revenue. So, debit revenue. For how much? That's 192,000. And then we will credit income summary. Other authors use income and expense summary, so you may use income and expense summary too. Okay, 192,000. Okay, and then for the operating expenses, is a normal credit debit balance account. So for us to be able to close it, we will credit the expenses and debit your income summary. Okay, and that's for 42,500, and then credit your rent expense for how much? 12,000, and then credit your salaries for 10,000, and then credit utilities for how much? 8,000 pesos. And then credit depreciation expense for 6,000. And then credit depreciation expense for 4,000. And then credit supplies expense for 2,500. Okay? So if you look at our closing entries for the revenues and expenses, this is how it is. So debit ka ng revenue, credit ka ng income summary to close the revenue account, and then income summary, and then credit all the expenses to close the expenses account. Okay? So if you try to look at the income and expense summary account, or the income account, income summary. So if this is the income summary, tingnan natin, no? Magkano ba ang lalabas na balanse sa kanya? So we credited income summary for 192,000. Dito na lang. 192,000. And then we debited income summary for 42,500. So therefore, how much is the ending balance of the income and expense summary? Actually, that is the net income. Okay, so it has a what? A credit balance of 149,500. Okay, so again, we will close it. So debit, so mas malaki yung credit, so dapat i-debit natin yung income summary for 149,500, and then credit your Zeus Capital or Z Capital for 149,500. Okay, so this is your closing entries for the given exercise. Okay, so we will now post this closing entries to the general ledger, and then after posting this, all temporary accounts, meaning your nominal accounts, no, yung ating income statement accounts will have zero balances. Okay, so after doing this, ano nang gagawin natin? We can now prepare the post-closing trial balance. Okay, so ano ba yung nakalagay sa ating post-closing? Okay, so post-closing trial balance. Okay, remember that we have already closed, no, or bring the balances to zero, okay, of the income and expense account. So what you will expect from closing, from post-closing trial balance are only the balance sheet accounts or the real accounts, okay? Only the balance sheet accounts will be shown in your post-closing trial balance kasi nasara na natin yung ating expense accounts, okay? So again, let's have the post-closing. So say for example, this is a consulting. Post-closing trial balance. Okay, as of December 31, 2020, no? So again, we will have cash. So cash. We have accounts receivable. We have prepaid rent. We have office supplies. And then we have office equipment. You have accumulated depreciation. You have office furnitures. And then you have the accumulated depreciation for the office furnitures. Then we have the accounts payable. Then you have the unearned revenues. Then we have the C capital. So if you would notice, we only have what? The balance sheet accounts or the real accounts. So you have the debit and then you have the credit. Okay? So we have cash of 257,000 debit. We have accounts receivable of 100,000. We have prepaid rent of 24,000. We have office supplies of 7,500. Then we have office equipment for 30,000. Accumulated depreciation of 6,000. And then 20,000. And then accumulated of 4,000. And then accounts payable of 17,000. Then an earned rent or unearned revenue of 12,000. And then the capital. So capital is what? Ito na siya, no? 250 plus 149, that's 399. So 399,000, sorry, 500. Okay, so the debit should be equal to credit. Can you please add up? 57 plus 100 plus 24 plus 75 plus 30,000 plus 20,000. That's 438,500. Okay? And then 6,000 plus 4,000 plus 17,000 plus 12,000 plus 399,500. That's 438,500. So you have here the post-closing trial balance. Okay? So anong gagawin natin after preparing the post-closing trial balance? This is the last activity for the year, no? So the following year, at the beginning of the following year, okay, anong gagawin natin? We now go to another optional step, and that is preparing the reversing entries. Now, ano ba itong preparing reversing entries? So we are actually reversing, ano yung reverse natin? We are only reversing some of the adjustments that we have prepared, okay, during the last year or last year end. No? Ano ba yung mga ina-adjust natin? Remember, no? Meron tayong mga adjusting entries na ginawa. No, not all the adjusting entries will have to be reversed. Tulad ng mga depreciation, allowance for doubtful accounts, we don't reverse those, no? No, however, meron tayong mga adjusting entries that we have to reverse. Ano yung mga yun? Accruals, deferrals, no? Accruals meaning accrual of revenues and expenses. Now, deferrals, ito yung mga advance collection if you use the revenue method. And then, of course, prepayments if you use the expense method. And then, what else? Essentially, yun yata, no? Accruals, deferrals, yeah. So, yun. So, therefore, ito yung adjusting journal entries na ginawa natin. Okay? So, anong gagawin natin? Lagyan natin dito, ha? So, number one, ano yung gagawin? We will reverse accrued revenues. We will reverse accrued expenses. We will reverse deferrals if we use the income method. And then also for the prepayments, if we use the expense method. So given these adjustments, alin kaya dito ang ating i-reverse? Una, itong una is